1 month before our wedding, her parents took my fiancée on a cruise. A family bonding trip, they called it. So I was not supposed to be there, in their minds. She returned cold and distant. She avoided direct eye contact and intimacy. That night her parents visiting us, they had been acting like background furniture. We were sitting on the couch, eating Thai food, half watching some show, then she paused the TV and said, "I think we should take a break." Just like that. I looked at her and said, "Okay." I stood up, walked to the bookshelf, and pulled out a thin, black folder. I handed it to her. "Before you go, you might want to look at this. I found some really interesting information about your trip." She blinked, caught completely off guard. Her parents tensed. She opened the file, flipped the first page. And froze. That was the moment her hands started to shake. Let's rewind. My name's Nate, 32. I write software for a company whose name sounds like a vitamin supplement but pays well enough to make me uninteresting at parties. Anna, my fiancée until roughly 5 minutes ago, is gorgeous, smart, and frighteningly good at reading people. Which is ironic, given how poorly she read me. We got engaged last fall. Her dad didn't say congratulations. Her mom smiled like someone told her the stock market crashed. I should have paid attention then, but love makes you squint. The cruise was their idea. A last memory as a family of 3, her mom said. Anna looked hesitant, but said yes. I supported it and even dropped her at the airport. In hindsight, the way her dad said, "Hope she comes back with clarity," should have felt more like a warning than a blessing. I didn't sleep the night she left for the cruise. Not because I had a bad feeling. Just because her dad gave me one of those fake smiles and said, "We'll bring her back better than ever." If that doesn't raise a few red flags, you've never had future in-laws who look at you like you parked in their country club spot. The first few days, I told myself not to be weird. I worked, ate, cleaned, rewatched a show I barely liked just to hear people talk. She sent a few short texts, one selfie. That was it. Then I saw a post from her cousin Kayla. Just a group shot on the cruise deck. Background was all sunset and cocktails. Foreground was her mom, her dad, Kayla, her uncle, and, surprise, a familiar profile in sunglasses. No tags, but I knew that face. Jake. Her ex. The guy who wasn't a factor. The guy her parents still had lunch with sometimes, because he was just so polite. Yeah, that guy. I didn't confront her right away. I just kept collecting. More posts and more angles. A champagne toast he wasn't supposed to be at. A group itinerary from Kayla's Pinterest board. A dinner reservation screenshot in a Reddit comment thread. All public. Then came the kicker. Her mom posted a photo of Anna in a formal dress. Not a just cruise casual but a wedding guest kind of shot. She looked beautiful. And she wasn't wearing the necklace I gave her. She's wearing another one, new and obscenely expensive. I can only assume that Jake bought it. I stared at that image for 10 minutes. Then I stood up, walked to my printer and hit print. The guest list wasn't just family. It was a re-audition. And I wasn't invited. So I built the file. Not to expose her. To protect myself. Because the worst kind of betrayal isn't loud. It's organized. And her parents? They'd been planning this long before the cruise. I could see it now, her father telling her to take time. Her mom reminding her that Jake had a real estate company now. That he'd changed. That I was nice, but average. They wanted her to wake up next to a safer choice. So I gave her one last one. And she chose wrong. Her texts were brief. Bad Wi-Fi, she said. Her photos were generic, sunsets, drinks, towel animals. None with her in them. I'm not the jealous type, so I didn't think much of it. Or maybe I wasn't until that trip. When I asked how the trip went, she said, it was important. Not great. Not fun. Just, important. I started paying attention. I saw a comment on one of her dad's friend's social media posts, a group photo on the cruise. Anna's family and someone who definitely wasn't supposed to be there. Someone I recognized. It was her ex. The one her parents loved. The one who dumped her 3 years ago. The one her mom once, accidentally, called by name at Thanksgiving. That was the beginning. I just started gathering information. Screenshots, printed posts, tagged photos, timestamp comparisons and conversations that didn't line up. It wasn't about catching her. It was about seeing how far they were willing to go. And now, here she was, sitting next to her parents and okaying at the file. Timeline by timeline. She looked up and the rage on her face could have cracked glass. She said nothing. I didn't need to. I'd already said everything I needed to say. In 18 printed pages. Anna sat with the folder in her lap like it was ticking. She didn't open it right away, just stared at it, the cover flexing in her hands. Her parents were perched on the edge of the couch like two executives waiting for a PR crisis to blow over. Finally, she flipped it open. Page 1, Group Cruise Photo. Her parents. Jake. Her. She's mid-laugh, hand resting a little too comfortably on Jake's armrest. She turned the page. A tagged itinerary showing an excursion for 6 on the same day she texted me, staying in today. Feeling off. Page 3, Jake and Anna, smiling together under a paper lantern. Taken by a stranger, posted publicly. Caption, gorgeous couple. I watched her eyes track across the captions. She didn't blink. Her hands didn't shake. She wasn't shocked. She was just caught. Her mother leaned forward, probably thinking now was the moment to pretend this was all a huge misunderstanding. Where did you get this? She asked, like that was the issue. I didn't need a private investigator, I said. I just know how to read public posts and timestamps. You'd be amazed what people share when they think no one's paying attention. Anna's dad gave a dry little laugh, like he couldn't believe I had the audacity to dig into their narrative. Anna finally spoke. What exactly are you trying to say? Oh, I'm not trying, I said. I'm saying it. You didn't just reconnect with your ex by accident. You didn't just fall into old memories. You flew out to sea with him, posed for pictures, and lied to my face while planning our wedding. She shut the folder. Too late. Her dad crossed his arms. It wasn't personal. I looked at him and smiled. You invited her ex-boyfriend on a family cruise a month before our wedding. It was incredibly personal. Anna didn't deny anything right away. She just folded her arms and shifted her weight, suddenly defensive in a way that told me everything I hadn't wanted to know. She looked down at the photos again like they might rearrange themselves into a better story. I could see her mind working, reaching for angles, for softened truths. Maybe she'd say it was complicated. It always is, when someone starts lining up replacements before the original is even packed away. Her mother tried to smooth the air, as if this was all some unfortunate miscommunication. She spoke about Jake like he had simply appeared, harmless, coincidental. But the tone gave her away. It wasn't coincidence. It was invitation. Facilitation. Encouragement. They had rolled out a red carpet for the man who once dumped their daughter and shamed her, simply because he wore a better suit and carried a better wallet. And Anna hadn't hesitated to step back onto that carpet. She let him in again. Laughed with him on the deck, posed for photos. Wore the necklace he gave her like it meant something. It wasn't confusion. It was betrayal, well-dressed and carefully timed. She flinched when I said that. The word landed hard. Not because it wasn't true, because it was too true. Then she did what people like her always do when caught, tried to reframe the entire conversation. Something about how I had been too stable, too focused on being solid, predictable. As if consistency were a flaw. As if I was supposed to apologize for not being exciting enough to justify emotional cheating. She accused me of not noticing how unhappy she was. She was right. I noticed. That's why I made the folder. The conversation could have ended there, but I gave her one more hit. The printout of the revised seating chart, the one her dad submitted. It showed her family's edits, my friends, removed. Jake's sister, added. It wasn't just deception. It was production. She hadn't just fallen into old habits. She'd made room for them. I raised a hand. Told them not to argue. There was nothing left to win. I stood. The wedding was off. Her mother gasped like I'd just set fire to her drapes. Anna shot to her feet too, trying to stop the momentum. She said I was overreacting. 10 days of emotional infidelity, months of manipulation, and she called it an overreaction. She said it wasn't fair. She was right again. Fair would have been telling me the truth before the seating chart became a battlefield. I watched her expression shift, not to remorse or guilt, but frustration. The kind of look you give when a lie doesn't land like you expected. She wasn't sorry. She was annoyed. Then came the final defense, the last-ditch appeal to ego and sentiment. She asked if I was really willing to walk away from everything, over a few photos. I said, you never learn to look deep, not just at the surface. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't get emotional. They weren't snapshots of a mistake. They were evidence of a choice. A week-long preview of the life she'd already started without me. Her mother stepped forward, like she might try to play mediator again. I didn't give her the chance. This is me choosing not to marry a liar. I walked to the door, left. Just one man leaving behind people who thought he wouldn't. 15 minutes later, I parked in an empty lot next to a coffee shop and laughed out loud for the first time in weeks. It wasn't a good laugh. It was one of those bitter, breathless ones you get when your body finally accepts the truth your heart's been dodging. Back at home, I put the folder away. Not because I needed it anymore. Because I didn't. The case was closed. They ran their little cruise experiment, tried to reprogram her with nostalgia and name-brand stability. And she let them. But I had a copy of the script. And I rewrote the ending. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm and made coffee in absolute silence. No music. No hangover. No regrets. I scrolled through my inbox and saw a reminder email from the venue asking for final guest counts. Subject line, excited for the big day. I replied, weddings cancelled. Thank you. No explanation. Just facts. I didn't make an announcement. I didn't call my friends to tell them my side of the story and even didn't text them a dramatic group message. I'd already made my statement, on paper, in 12-point font, with proof and a calm exit. Anything else would have been noise. Still, it spread. By noon, I had 7 missed calls. 2 from friends, 3 from vendors, and 2 from unknown numbers I'd bet good money were her mother. I ignored them all. Not out of pettiness, out of peace. The first text I actually opened came from a mutual friend. It read, "Hey, not trying to pry, but, she's telling people you freaked out and walked out for no reason. Want to clear the air?" I didn't respond. If someone wanted the truth, they could ask me directly. If they were content with her version, they weren't worth keeping anyway. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from Anna. The transcript preview read, "We need to talk." I didn't think it would, and cut off there. I didn't listen to the rest. By day 4, a bridesmaid messaged me a screenshot of a group chat Anna had left. One girl had written, I knew something was off when her dad started calling the shots about the music and the wine. Apparently, her family's charm campaign had turned into damage control. Anna moved back in with them, for clarity. The same clarity she said she needed after the cruise. Guess it follows her around. Meanwhile, Jake, the ex, the cruise companion, the almost successor, made local business news. A real estate deal gone bad. Misappropriated client funds. Not enough for jail, but enough to ruin his clean-cut reputation. His online reviews tanked. A few angry Yelp posts claimed he was dishonest and slippery with paperwork. And I, on the contrary, received a good job offer. Out of nowhere, I got an email from a senior director at a firm I'd spoken to at a conference months ago. They'd heard I was discreet, precise, and unervingly composed under pressure. Their words, not mine. They offered me a promotion-level position, better pay, better flexibility, and no office politics. I signed the contract within the hour. While Anna's family was hosting private conversations about what had happened, I was shipping back my tux, returning the ring, and ordering a better coffee machine. I upgraded my apartment. Changed gyms. Bought a proper desk chair. Little things that made my life feel bigger again. One of her bridesmaids, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Lydia, reached out the next week and said, "If you ever want to grab a drink and talk about how the rich eat their young, I'm free Thursday." I passed, but I appreciated the offer. Word eventually trickled down that Anna had taken some time away from social media. Translation: she couldn't control the story anymore. Apparently, a few of my friends had seen the file. I didn't send it around. I didn't have to. One printout must have made the rounds, because people stopped asking what happened. They just started saying things like, "You handled that like a surgeon. You didn't just dodge a bullet. You dodged the entire firing squad." I still hadn't spoken to Anna. But one afternoon, I did see her. At a Target. She was walking out with her mom, pushing a cart. Her posture was different. Like she'd folded herself down 2 inches. She saw me in the parking lot. We locked eyes for maybe 3 seconds. She smiled. Not a real smile. A guilty one. An, I might say hi, kind of smile. I gave her the smallest nod I could get away with and kept walking. I didn't look back. Because here's the thing, people think revenge is noise, shouting, slamming doors, telling your side to everyone with ears. But real revenge is clean. It's silence. It's waking up and realizing your life is better without them in it, and they know it. She and her parents tried to rewire her life using nostalgia and guilt. They fed her Jake like he was the sensible choice, the familiar one, the upgrade. And she bought it. For a week. Maybe longer. But she forgot something important. I don't want to be a backup anymore. I am not a savior, who is always there when your best option turned out to be defective. 2 weeks passed. No more calls. No random sightings. I figured Anna had finally realized silence was my answer. Until the envelope arrived. "I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" I stared at it for a minute. Then flipped it over. I didn't feel anything. I left it on my kitchen counter and went for a run. By the time I got back, I already knew how I'd answer. With an RSVP. 2 days later, I sent a package. Inside, a printout of the original wedding invitation. The one with both our names. Cream paper. Gold lettering. Elegant. Across the middle, I'd stamped one word in bold black ink, "Declined." Taped to the back was a photo I'd taken just that morning, me, standing in front of the headquarters of my new job. Same logo her dad used to brag about doing business with. The same company that dropped his firm last month. Caption: "Looks better from the inside." A week later, her friend Lydia messaged me. She got it. She cried. Then her mom shaked with anger. Then her dad slammed a door so hard it cracked a cabinet. I told you, she added, surgical. I didn't reply. Just closure. Fast forward 3 months. I'm in a new city now. New apartment. New favorite coffee shop. I've lost 10 pounds, grown some confidence I didn't know I had, and gained a strange but enjoyable reputation at work for being the calmest guy in the building. Then, one Friday afternoon, I get an email from a major conference organizer. They want me to speak on a panel about ethical systems development. Apparently, someone at my company forwarded my name. I agree, thinking, why not? I show up 2 weeks later. Big room. Name tags. Coffee too strong to be legal. I check in, get my lanyard, turn around. And see Anna in the 4th row. Wearing a blazer, hair tied back, like she's trying to camouflage in professionalism. She sees me and freezes. Gives a tiny wave. I nod with no smile. Then I walk to the front. The talk goes well. Better than well, actually. Afterward, people line up to ask questions. One guy wants to know how I stay composed under pressure. Another asks about leadership and crisis planning. I tell them the truth. It's not about control. It's about clarity. Once you know who's in your corner and who's just waiting for you to fall, every decision becomes easier. They nod like I've said something profound. Anna stays seated the whole time. Doesn't ask anything. When the room emptied out and the applause faded, she approached. Like someone walking toward the edge of a cliff they weren't sure was still there. She looked like she'd rehearsed the moment a dozen times, what she'd wear, how she'd stand, what opening line might make it all feel less broken. Whatever she chose, it didn't work on me. She said hello. I returned it, polite but flat. There was a pause while she took me in, scanning for some trace of softness she thought might still be there. If she found it, it didn't show in her face. She commented on how I looked, that vague, neutral compliment people give when they want to say more but don't have permission. I acknowledged it. No thanks. No, you too. Just equal energy. She made it clear she hadn't come to make things difficult, that she'd only wanted to hear me speak. That maybe seeing me in a different light, from a distance, might allow her to rewrite the story in her head. I gave her the smallest of nods. And still, she stood there, trying to find some way in. Regret flickered across her face, but it was tangled in self-interest. Not guilt. Just curiosity, the kind people feel when they realize the door they thought they could always knock on, has vanished. She told me she thought about it all the time. What happened? What she'd done? What she lost? Her voice faltered just enough to suggest it wasn't a line. That didn't make it better. I told her I thought about it too. She took a slow breath, one of those bracing, half-hopeful kinds, and asked the question she had clearly been saving, whether I ever thought about us. I met her gaze. Held it. Then gave her the cleanest answer I had. Only when I needed a reminder of what clarity costs. She looked away after that, briefly, a reaction she couldn't suppress, the kind that proves a point better than words ever could. I didn't twist the knife. Didn't lean in or say more. I offered her a polite smile, extended my hand, and ended it like a job interview that had gone nowhere. Then I left and didn't turn back. That night, I went out for dinner with someone I'd met at the conference. She was sharp, sarcastic in all the right ways, and asked questions that made me laugh, not because they were funny, but because they were better than any compliment. Somewhere between the second drink and the bill, she told me I didn't seem like someone who carried baggage. I smiled at that. Told her I didn't. Left it on a cruise ship. She laughed. I did too. Because I meant it.